Good morning, my name is Ian Shaw from Shaw Architecting in Frankfurt, Germany. My office is involved in a whole series of different project types, ranging from a theatre which we designed in Darmstadt to an office building which we've built in the USA. We are currently involved in a high-end golf hotel in the USA which is in the planning process, and we are currently planning the new crematorium at the main cemetery in Frankfurt. As you can see, we're involved in a wide variety of projects. In addition to these, we also build industrial buildings. Despite the wide palette of buildings we're actually involved in, one of the things we apply to all these building types is a methodology of using colour, or in my case, the absence of colour. By that I mean that we very rarely use applied colour in the sense of painted colour in our projects. Almost all of our projects attain as coloration through a very careful selection of materials and the way the materials are actually finished. The first project I'd like to talk to you about, which actually demonstrates this principle, is a penthouse in Frankfurt. This penthouse was built approximately 5 years ago. It's located on the top of a building which was built in 1893. The top of this penthouse has views to the Taurus Mountains and to the forests surrounding Frankfurt. In addition to this, you can actually see the skyline of Frankfurt. There was a very deliberate decision made at the beginning of this building that this building would be built on two principles. The first of which is, where does the sun enter the building and where are the views? The second of which was that none of the materials involved in this project would be coloured. That the plaster used would not be coloured, that the timber and wood surfaces used would not be coloured, that the steelwork would not be coloured, that every material in this building would actually be as it is in that sense. In one sense, it shows itself as it is. It is in an indirect way, it is truthful. The parquet we use, the floor surface, is imported Canadian timber. This is a red-brown colour. The plasterwork we use is a specific mix of plaster which we applied to the wall surfaces and didn't paint. What you see is actually a finished plaster surface, and it is off-white. We applied a Japanese wax to this surface, so it was actually sealed. In this case, it's actually become waterproof. The beauty of this is that the surfaces actually used slowly take on a patina. The building, as I said, the building is now 5 years old, and what we've seen in the process is that the building begins to age, and begins to mellow. It's actually taken on a very nice, warm tone. This was deliberate. There was a very specific decision made that, as I said, that the surfaces should not be painted. If these surfaces were painted, then we'd now be in this situation whereby we would have to repaint the surfaces, which means we would lose a patina, which means we would lose a reference to the passage of time, which also means we'd lose any trace of usage in the building. And these two things combined, the passage of time plus the traces of usage, and I'm not talking about scratches, I'm talking about usage, that the actual building is used, it becomes lived in, it becomes like a good coat or an old wine. It actually ages. As it ages, it gets better. These are very important aspects of building for us. And if you apply colour, as I said, in the sense of actually painting things, then it's very, very difficult to achieve this. The one thing we've noticed in this building is that the light reflections is actually mellowed. The reflection of light is almost imperceivably warmer, which was something we presumed was going to happen, but we're not quite sure was going to happen. I'll show you a series of pictures and then I'll move on to the next project. The second project I'd like to show you is the Hercules office building. It's the headquarters for the company Hercules in the USA. This is built on the outskirts of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. Hercules are a manufacturer of heavy machinery. They're involved in a lot of steelwork and very precision machinery which produces steel rolls. The principle behind this building, the guiding principle behind this building, was actually to produce a building which reflects the usage of the occupants. And again, a very deliberate decision was made at the beginning that all surfaces which could be made in steel should be made in steel. There's a very direct reference to what actually takes place within this building and what the occupants and the clients of this building are involved in on a day-to-day basis. The facade of the building is an aluminium facade. It's slightly it's been changed in some aspects from the standard aluminium American facade which is on the market, but the aluminium profiles are left as such. They are not coated, they are not painted, they are left as such. The steel framework of the building, which is also visible in the photos which I'm about to show you, has also been painted, but it's been painted in a silver colour to reflect the silver of the steelwork. The painting in this sense is not it's a coating, it's a rust coating, and it's not applied as a decorative finish to the building. The ceiling of the building has been left exposed. It's galvanized pressed steel plate. And we spent a long time looking at different manufacturers of galvanized sheeting and looking at different grades of galvanized sheeting to actually select the correct type of sheeting we're looking for. Basically, the colours in this building are the result of a process of selection, a very careful process of selection, whereby we chose the materials and then spoke to the manufacturers and made sure that the tones, the different silver, in this case silver tones, between the materials actually matched and form a palette which is harmonious. The floor surface in this building is actually cast concrete. The colour of the cast concrete is a direct result of the aggregate we took out of the river, which is approximately 6 meters away from this building. This building is almost on the waterfront. We took the aggregate directly out of the river and mixed it with the concrete on site. That means you get this brown greenish floor surface. That was also a very deliberate decision that elements of this building should be site specific. And in this case, the floor surface, which you can see in the following photos, is very site specific. It's literally from the site. It is literally underneath the building. This is the aggregate and shale underneath it.